there, my sleepy warriors. Tonight, we sail into the middle of Earth to find what letters from Rivendell really were. An elf writes letters to the stars, chronicling the quiet nights and passing travelers of Rivendell. The elf never writes to anyone in particular, sometimes to the stars, sometimes to time itself. Each letter feels like a lullaby made of memory. So now, let's begin to unfold what shaped the Middle Earth before the War of the Rings. The first letter was about the echoes of arrival. Let's begin. Earlier this evening, a company of travelers arrived from the east. Dwarves, by their gait and their laughter. You can always tell a dwarf from the sound of his boots before you see his face. They came up the path carrying lanterns that swung in the mist like tiny suns, their light glinting off helmets and beards heavy with rain. The bridgestones rang beneath their feet, and even the valley seemed to wake and watch their arrival. It has been a long time since dwarves last came to Imladris. I stood by the balcony rail and watched as they entered the courtyard, stamping mud from their boots, shaking the water from their cloaks, as though the storm had been a friend rather than a foe. When they reached the Hall of Fire, the air filled with their voices, deep, rumbling, and full of life. One of them, a stout fellow with a braided beard of silver, carried a small harp bound in cloth. When he unwrapped it, the strings shimmered in the candlelight like thin threads of dawn. He played only one song. It wasn't grand or long, but it was beautiful in its simplicity. Something about home, about pine trees and the warmth of forges, about echoes in deep stone halls. It was the sort of melody that lingers, not in the year, but in the chest, humming faintly long after it ends. For a moment, I thought of Aule and his first creations, of music made from earth and flame, and I felt something stir inside me that I haven't felt in many years. Now, the Hall of Fire has gone quiet. The travelers are asleep in the guest rooms below. I can hear one of them snoring even from here. It sounds like a forge, resting after a long day's work. I find it comforting. I wonder what dreams visit the dwarves when they finally sleep. Do they see mountains crowned with gold, or halls echoing with their father's laughter? Or do they dream of things lost to time, the treasures buried under ages of stone and silence? Perhaps both. I've learned that joy and sorrow walk hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Even stone remembers tears. As the night deepened, I found myself thinking of the halflings, the little folk from the west. It has been long since their laughter filled these halls, but I swear, sometimes I still hear it, faintly, caught in the corners of the room when the wind turns just right. They brought light with them, not the kind made from fire or magic, but something gentler, a light of simple goodness. I think Rivendell misses them in its own quiet way. Lord Elrond was present tonight, though he said little. He watched the dwarves as one might watch a storm at a distance, admiring its strength and beauty, while knowing how easily it might break the calm. When he rose from his seat, the room seemed to shift with him, as if the light itself followed wherever he went. They say he never sleeps, and perhaps that is true. I think he dreams while waking, his thoughts always walking paths too deep for the rest of us to follow. The fire has burned low now. The last of the embers glow like sleeping eyes. Even the waterfalls beyond the window sound softer, their voice lowering before dawn, as if the valley itself has begun to rest. The stars are brighter now, scattered across the sky like jewels, spilled from some forgotten crown. I wonder how long they have watched us, these old witnesses of our fleeting lives. Perhaps they too keep their own letters, written in light instead of ink. It will be a few days before our guests continue their journey, and I will write again before they leave. Each arrival brings a new echo of the world beyond our valley, a reminder that the world is still moving, still alive, even when we stand still to listen. There is peace in that thought, peace in knowing that life goes on in all its forms, carrying stories like leaves in a river. The next was about the bridge beneath the stars. It was the second letter that, steeped in the quiet magic of Rivendell's nights,
Let's begin. There are nights in Rivendell when the wind carries with it the faintest echoes of laughter, music, or footsteps long since past. Elves do not forget easily, and even the stones here seem to hold memories. Sometimes, when I stand on this bridge, I can almost sense the presence of those who once lingered here. Travelers, wanderers, and weary souls who found brief peace before journeying on. I imagine them pausing where I stand now, leaning against the railing, looking up at the same stars that burn above me tonight. How many hearts, I wonder, have rested in this valley before returning to the long road? The water below murmurs in its eternal tongue, a song without beginning or end. The elves say it was the river that first taught us to listen. It does not speak of past or future, only of what is. Its voice reminds me that peace does not come from holding still, but from moving gently through the moments that come and go. I think that is what Rivendell teaches best. How to flow without fear of forgetting. How to linger without being lost. A soft mist has begun to rise from the river. It drifts low, curling around the stones of the bridge like smoke from an unseen fire. The stars shimmer faintly through it, bending their light in small ripples. If I close my eyes, it feels as though the world has grown lighter, as though the earth itself is breathing in and out. And within that breath, there is the hum of something larger, something patient and eternal. Tonight, I found myself thinking of the travelers who once came here from distant lands. Dwarves with their gruff laughter, men burdened with purpose, and hobbits whose curiosity lit the halls brighter than any lantern. They all crossed this same bridge. Their steps have long faded, but their presence lingers like a chord that never quite resolves. I wonder if, in their own quiet moments, they ever sensed that Rivendell was not just a refuge, but a heartbeat of Middle-earth itself, a place where all roads, for a time, found rest. Sometimes I look up at the constellations and try to trace the stories they tell.
Elbereth's stars burn brighter here than anywhere else. It is said she set them as a promise that no matter the depth of shadow, there would always be light above it. I find comfort in that thought. The stars do not speak, and yet they seem to understand everything. Perhaps they remember what we forget, that endings are not endings, only transformations too vast for us to see. A leaf has fallen beside my hand. It must have drifted down from the trees that line the riverbank, pale and thin as parchment. I turn it over in the moonlight, and for a moment, it looks almost like a map. Its veins tracing paths to unknown places. I think of how easily we forget the small wonders of the world while searching for the grand ones. Yet here, beneath the stars, even a fallen leaf feels eternal. The night deepens. Somewhere far off, a flute plays a few quiet notes. One of the elves, perhaps, unable to sleep. The sound drifts through the valley, soft and clear, like light made into music. It arises, lingers, and fades into the wind. And I, sitting here upon this old bridge, feel time slow until it barely exists at all. Only the river moves, whispering onward toward lands unseen. When dawn comes, this mist will vanish. The sky will blush with the first light, and the world will stir once more. But for now, this moment belongs only to stillness, to the water, the wind, and the stars. I will remain here a while longer, letting their quiet teach me what no book can. If ever you find yourself weary, imagine this place, a silver bridge beneath a sky of endless light, the murmur of water below, and the hush of eternity above. somewhere within that silence, you might hear Rivendell itself, not in words, but in peace. Now, the third letter unfolds like a quiet dream, a letter of memory, scent, and renewal, set within the secret heart of Rivendell, the hidden garden. The garden is small, no larger than a hall, yet it feels endless when you walk among its corners. The walls are draped in vines that shimmer faintly with dew, and in the center stands a tree with pale silver bark. Its branches spread wide, and the leaves catch the sunlight like fragments of glass. Beneath it, the ground is soft with fallen petals, white and blue and faintly glowing when the moonlight finds them. No one tends this place anymore, yet nothing here seems to fade. It exists as if untouched by time, breathing quietly beneath the great rhythm of the valley. I often come here when my heart feels heavy, or when the weight of memory presses too deeply. In Rivendell, peace surrounds us, yet even peace can hold sorrow, the kind that hums beneath every song and lingers in every silence. Here, in this hidden garden, that sorrow feels gentler, like water smoothing stone. I have watched many seasons turn here. In autumn, the silver leaves fall slowly, spinning like coins cast into a wishing well. In winter, frost gathers along the branches, catching the first light like stars fallen from above. And in spring, the air fills with fragrance so soft it seems to carry old dreams upon it. There is a small bench made of marble near the stream, and it is there I sit now. The water murmurs beside me, slipping over stones green with moss. If you listen long enough, you can almost hear voices within its flow, faint echoes of laughter, whispers, perhaps even songs once sung here by those who knew the garden when it was young. Sometimes I close my eyes and let those imagined voices carry me away until I feel as though I have stepped outside of time altogether. Elrond once told me that Rivendell was built not upon power, but upon memory. It is memory that gives this valley its strength. The memories of all who have walked here, their joys and griefs, intertwined like roots beneath the soil. This garden, I think, is the heart of that memory. It is not grand or adorned, yet everything in it feels sacred. The stones hold warmth, even in shadow. The petals fall, but never decay. There is a peace here that feels alive, like something watching kindly from within the leaves. I brought a book with me today, a collection of old poems written by an elf whose name time has long erased. The words are faint, but their rhythm remains. One line has stayed with me. Even in stillness, the earth sings. I think that is what I feel here. The quiet music beneath all things. A song too deep for sound. Perhaps this is what the elves mean when they speak of the music of the Ainur. Perhaps in this small garden, a fragment of that first melody still lingers, soft and unseen. The sky above is beginning to fade from gold to violet. Soon, the moon will rise, and the garden will change once again. In the dark, it becomes something otherworldly. The flowers shimmer faintly, and the stream glows with pale light. It feels almost as though the stars themselves have descended to rest among the petals. In that light, all thoughts of sorrow seem to dissolve. What remains is only stillness, not the stillness of emptiness, but of understanding. If you were here, I would show you the way to this place. Though I think the garden chooses who may find it. Still, I would tell you to listen for the stream. It sings softly, even beyond the walls, and to follow its voice. Walk with patience, and you may step through the archway when the light is right. And if you do, sit beneath the silver tree and say nothing for a while. You will see what words cannot reach. The next letter deepens the sense of farewell, a soft realization that even in timeless places like Rivendell, every season eventually yields to change. The last light before dawn. It is nearly morning now. The valley lies wrapped in a hush so deep that even the waterfalls seem to whisper instead of roar. The stars are dimming one by one, and the eastern sky holds the faintest blush of rose and silver. I have not yet slept. Instead, I sit by the high balcony that overlooks the river, watching as night takes its final breath. The world feels suspended between what has been and what is yet to come. A fragile, trembling pause before the turning of another day. There is a kind of ache in this hour, though it is not sorrow exactly. It feels more like tenderness, the soft ache of knowing that something beautiful cannot last forever. Rivendell is often called a place untouched by time. And yet, time moves here as gently as water wearing down stone. You can feel it if you listen long enough. The slow pulse beneath the stillness. The quiet reminder that even eternal things must change. The halls behind me are dark, save for one lantern that flickers in the breeze. Its light glows through the carved latticework and dances upon the marble floor like liquid gold. I can smell the faint trace of rain from the night before, and somewhere deep within the valley, an early bird calls. hesitant, as though unsure whether to wake the day. All of it feels like a breath being drawn and held. I have been thinking these past few nights of journeys, of how every path, no matter how long, begins and ends in light. Some lights we walk toward, others we leave behind. I came to Rivendell as a seeker, chasing the promise of wisdom and peace. I found both, though not in the way I expected. Wisdom here is quiet. It hides in the rustle of leaves and the turn of old pages. Peace is not something you claim. It is something you learn to share with silence. And now, as dawn stirs upon the horizon, I feel both gratitude and restlessness rising together. I think of all the nights I have spent wandering these halls, the library glowing with candlelight, the bridge beneath the stars, the hidden garden that blooms unseen. Each place holds a part of me now, as though my thoughts have left faint imprints upon the air. But I can also feel the gentle tug of the road calling. It does not demand, it merely waits, patient as time, soft as wind. Perhaps that is how all departures begin, not with decision, but with the quiet knowing that it is time to move again. The first rays of sunlight have begun to touch the highest peaks. The mist over the river glows faintly, and the silver trees shimmer as though waking from a long dream. Elrond once told me that dawn is not the end of night, but its fulfillment. That the darkness does not vanish, it simply transforms into light. I think I understand that now. To carry the night's peace into the day is a kind of faith, a trust in the world's balance. there is a warmth spreading through the air, soft, golden, alive. The sound of the waterfalls grows stronger as light filters through the valley. I can see the faint outlines of figures moving along the walkways below. Elves beginning their morning songs, singing voices blending with the murmur of the river. Their harmonies rise like mist, curling upward until it seems the very air hums with life. It is beautiful, almost unbearably so. And yet, as I watch, a part of me feels as though I am already half a world away. My thoughts traveling the roads that lead beyond these cliffs, through forests and over plains, into the vast unknown. Perhaps that is the gift of Rivendell. It teaches you how to love the stillness so deeply that you can carry it with you, even when you must move on. I will leave soon, not today, not tomorrow, but soon enough that this dawn feels like a gentle farewell. There are places I must see, voices I have yet to hear, and perhaps somewhere new stories waiting to be written. But I will not leave Rivendell behind. I will take it with me in memory, in rhythm, in the quiet way the world breathes when you learn to listen. The light is brighter now. The sky has turned from violet to blue, and the valley is awakening. I close this letter with the warmth of the sun upon my hands, the ink drying in its glow. If these letters ever find you, wherever you may be, I hope they carry a piece of this place to your heart. The stillness, the kindness, the the unspoken promise that peace is never lost. For even as night fades, Rivendell remains, not merely as a place upon the earth, but as a light within the soul. The letter, The Hall of Echoes, explores memory, how voices, laughter, and footsteps linger in Rivendell long after their owners have gone. This evening, the air in Rivendell feels touched by remembrance. The sky is dim and overcast, and soft rain moves like silver threads through the valley. I have taken shelter in one of the oldest halls, a long corridor lined with marble pillars and carvings so worn by time they seem to breathe. The elves call it the Hall of Echoes. They say that every voice ever spoken here still lingers, too faint for the ear, but not for the heart. When you walk its length, your own footsteps seem to follow, just a moment behind, as though the past is gently keeping pace with you. The sound is never lonely. It feels, instead, like walking within a memory that welcomes you in silence. I often come here when the world outside feels too loud or too quick. There is a patience in these stones that asks for nothing, and in their stillness, something deep within me settles. I sit now upon the low step near the center of the hall. The torches burn low, their flames thin and golden, and the reflections quiver across the floor like rippling water. From somewhere far off, I can hear the faint echo of a harp, or perhaps only the wind threading through the carvings. It's difficult to tell where one sound ends and another begins. Everything here blends together. Time, memory, music, until you begin to understand how little separates what was from what is. Once, Elrond told me that every hall in Rivendell was built not merely of stone, but of song. That each block was laid to a rhythm, every arch shaped in harmony with the valley's voice. I think of that often here. The air itself feels tuned, as though the walls remember every chord ever played within them. If you stand still enough, you can almost hear laughter buried beneath the hush. Feasts long past, stories told by firelight, names spoken with affection, now turned to legend. Nothing is truly gone here. It simply hums in another key. There is a statue near the far end of the corridor, an elf maiden with a circlet of ivy carved upon her brow. Her hands are folded over a book, her eyes lifted toward some unseen horizon. No one remembers who she was. Her name has been lost to the centuries. Yet her presence remains gentle and knowing. I often leave a fresh sprig of green by her feet when I pass, a small tribute to what endures. The rain has grown heavier now. I can hear it against the roof, soft but constant, a rhythm older than language. Every drop seems to deepen the stillness rather than disturb it. Water always finds its way, even through stone, and I wonder if it too remembers every place it has been. The river outside, the mist in the air, the tears of storms, all part of one endless turning. Perhaps memory itself is like water. It flows through us, shaping what it touches, never still, never gone. I close my eyes and listen. The hall breathes. The fire. The rain whispers. Somewhere, far above, thunder rolls like a slow drumbeat. And in that sound, for a moment, I feel the pulse of all the years that have lived and faded here. I imagine the great travelers who passed through these doors, weary, burdened, yet for a time at peace. Their echoes are kind companions. They remind me that everything, even silence, is full of story. The torches will soon burn out, and I will walk back through the corridors toward my room. My footsteps will join the countless others that have crossed this floor. Another soft sound added to the hall's long memory. Perhaps one day, when the valley stands quiet again, someone will walk here and hear me too, faintly, as a whisper of pen on parchment, or the sigh of breath beneath a stone. The fifth letter. The road beyond the valley carries a quiet note of farewell, not sorrowful, but full of gentle courage and gratitude as the scribe finally leaves Rivendell and begins their journey into the wider world. The morning I left Rivendell was soft and golden. The air shimmered with that calm brightness that only comes after rain, when the world feels newly washed and waiting. The valley lay below me, half veiled in mist, and the waterfalls shone like ribbons of light spilling from the cliffs. The sound of them followed me even as I walked higher, until it was no longer a sound, but a memory carried within me, the heartbeat of a home that had taught me stillness. No one ever truly leaves Rivendell, not in the way one leaves a city or a house. It lingers in the mind, like a melody that hums just below hearing. I think that is the nature of peace. Once it touches you, it remains, even when your feet wander far from where it began. Still,
As I passed through the great archway at the valley's edge, I turned once more to look back. The sunlight had just reached the highest towers, and the windows caught it like fire. For a moment, it seemed as though the whole of Rivendell was made of light. Lord Elrond was there, at the gate, his robe caught in the morning wind. He said little, only placed his hand upon my shoulder and smiled with that quiet knowing that needs no words. Beside him stood a few others, their faces calm, their eyes bright as stars. They did not say farewell, for in elven tongues, such words are seldom used. Instead, they said, "May the Valar guard and protect you on your path beneath the sky." And then the road bent away, and the valley disappeared behind the trees. The forest I entered was deep and green, filled with the scent of pine and damp earth. Sunlight spilled through the branches in shifting patterns, and each step felt both familiar and strange, as though I were walking through a dream that had forgotten its beginning. There was a hush in the air, the kind that belongs to places long untraveled. Yet even there, in the quiet of the woods, I could still feel Rivendell's song beneath the surface, that subtle hum of harmony that teaches you to move with the world, not against it. As I walked, I thought of all the nights spent in the library's glow, of moonlight on the silver tree, of voices singing beneath the stars. Each memory felt alive, like a small flame guiding my way forward. And it struck me then how journeys are never truly about reaching somewhere new. They are about carrying what we've learned into the places that do not yet know peace. Perhaps that is what the elves mean when they speak of the long road. It is not a line across the earth, but a weaving of hearts and moments stretched endlessly toward the horizon. At midday, I reached a ridge where the land opened wide before me. From there I could see the plains stretching out, gold and endless, and far in the distance, a glimmer that might have been another river, or perhaps the road itself, bending toward the unknown. The wind there was different, rougher, wilder, but honest. It smelled of dust and distance, of stories yet untold. I closed my eyes and let it wash over me, carrying away the last traces of the valley's mist. I felt no fear, only wonder and a strange, steady peace. The kind that comes when you finally understand that every ending is also a beginning, written in another tongue.
I set down my pack and wrote this letter upon a smooth stone, with the sun warming my back. The parchment trembles a little in the wind, but the ink holds steady. Perhaps one day, if these letters ever find their way to another traveler, they will know what I have come to know. That home is not a place bound by walls or names. It is a rhythm that follows you, a breath that moves through the world wherever you walk. The road calls, and I must go. I do not know what lies beyond the hills, or how many nights the journey will take. But I know that somewhere in the distance, rivers still sing. Stars still listen. And a light will always find its way through the leaves. If ever you grow weary, remember the valley. Remember the sound of water against stone, the song of dawn breaking through the mist, the warmth of a lantern in the quiet library. Rivendell is not gone. It lives in you, and in every calm moment the world offers. So ends this final letter, written not in farewell, but in continuation. For the journey never ends, and the road, like memory, bends always toward the light. May the stars watch your sleep, and the wind carry your dreams gently. Until we meet again, somewhere beyond the valley, beneath the same sky.